Hello and welcome to Grinding Meaning, number 12. Lucid Dreaming, Cognitive Dissonance, and Stagnation. We're doing a little different this time. I usually don't really like talking about myself a whole lot. Not because I'm, I don't know, insecure, although that's probably in there somewhere. It's more like, nobody asked. I feel I'm a very agreeable personality, and like, I used to overshare violently on people, and I don't know, I think I'm just averse to that at this point. So I'm going to be talking a lot from personal experience here, which is not my normal thing, but, well, doing the same thing doesn't get you anywhere. You gotta do hard things. When I was young, oh, by the way, I'm just going to fly around in flight paths. I usually try to game while I'm doing this, but not this time. And we don't need... Also, you know, streaming flight paths in 4K, you know, it's kind of pretty. That was a little bit louder than I expected. Oh, well, let's get, I think... Oh. Okay. I don't know what's better here. Yeah, I like the flight paths in World of Warcraft, and now that I can like stream them at 4K and 60 frames per second. Oh, I should probably check my stream. Oh, looks good to me. Okay, when I was younger, when I was a little kid, I had like a lot of bad dreams, and typically bad dreams are a sign of, you know, basically being abused or something, but it was more like I was really socially inept, and that's being generous to myself. And I was always really insecure about my standing, because it seemed like every, you know, I wouldn't have put it this way at the time, but like every hierarchy I engaged with, I was basically at the bottom. And I don't want this to turn into like a, oh my god, it was so rough thing. I really, no, don't want the sympathy. Well, I don't want the sympathy for that. You know, I'm okay with accepting sympathy, but in the right places. Like, I've had to like deal with a whole lot of crap, and, you know, grow a whole lot, and, you know, the whole, like, basically all the bad stuff that happen, bad things that happen to you, the things you have to overcome. I know it sounds cliche, but they really are opportunities, because if you go through my past and you start plucking out, I don't know, the traumatic situations and the betrayals and, you know, the unfairness, like, the person I became to overcome those things is more important to me than not having had to deal with those things. Like, you start going through my history and start plucking those things out, I become less and less of a person. So in my perspective, they're basically, the bad stuff that happens is like an opportunity to become more than you were, and I don't really want to be less than I am now, so those are part of me. So if it seems like I'm like, oh, woe is me, I'm really not intending it that way. But I came across the idea of like lucid dreaming, although I don't think I don't think it was called that when I was introduced to it, but like the idea that you can take control of your dream, which was really appealing to me. Not for the reason most people, because, you know, oh, I can do whatever I want. It's my own personal holodeck. But like that I could actually deal with like these dreams that were just like so uncomfortable that I'd be waking myself up multiple times a night. And if you're having to wake yourself up from a dream, that's your subconscious screaming at you that something's not right. Now, it gets dicey when you're trying to figure out what it's telling you, but there's something not right. And I essentially, my memory of it anyway, and, you know, memory's weird, is that I basically asserted control, turned on, you know, the things tormenting me, and they lost their power over me, and I was able to do stuff in my dreams. Although it's interesting, like when you get control, you're like, oh, I can do whatever I want. It's like, well, you can't walk into the women's bathroom. Why? Because you've never been in there. Your brain doesn't have a model of what it's supposed to look like on the inside. That was very disappointing to me. I remember. I'm like, I'm going to see what's in here, and I walk in, and it's just like a blank space. Like, oh, yeah, data not found. That went with flying. Like, I couldn't fly in my dreams until like I actually played like a flight simulator, and I had some kind of way to generate it for myself. I'm getting off track here. Funny thing is, a lot of people think that they've had lucid dreams, and maybe they have, maybe they haven't. But a lot of people will just have a dream that they're lucid dreaming. Like, I want a lucid dream. I want to be able to, do whatever I want, and I want to, and it's like, okay. Well, and he asked it, it's like, oh, and then I did the thing. Oh, so the thing that you've been thinking about wanting to do for a while, how do you know you're not just having a dream that you're lucid dreaming? Like, if you're not actually, like, stressed out and on the verge of bailing on your dream, I don't know. I don't think, it's hard to get there. And even if you do receive a lucid state while you're dreaming, it's like fleeting and limited. Like, even if you get it, there isn't much of it. You don't have your full set of faculties available to you. In fact, it's a very limited set, because there are many things happening while you dream, and like one of the functions is a sort of reality simulator. Where our very limited awareness can't maintain the mental blocks we erect around unaddressed contradictions. So dreams can be like a message in a bottle from your subconscious. And except the message is like Scotty from Star Trek telling you the shields aren't going to hold much longer. So simply like, cognitive dissonance is what's happening behind the blank stare someone gives you after you've referenced something they can't address or even think about because of an internal conflict. 2 seconds later, after a reboot, they have a new topic and they are suddenly very interested in it. And maybe I should cover that later. Oh, but like basically when I hit puberty, it derailed my interest in dreams, like in like being lucid. So I would still achieve it on occasion, but it wasn't something I really tried. And that's kind of the state of things for a while. I mean, when I kind of left Christianity and was exploring other options, I would play around with it, but not really a whole lot going on there. I did have decades ago one encounter with Simon. Sorry, gotta be careful on YouTube. And it flipped some kind of switch. And I'm not going to go into all that, but two permanent side effects were I essentially became stuck in a lucid state. Like whenever I'm dreaming, even today, like I always have some awareness that I'm dreaming, but I had to learn to play along. And I also had a way to I don't know, I just kind of fell into a way. I call it meditative sleep, where I'm not really sleeping, I'm not really meditating, but I'm relaxed and recovering. And that's pretty useful, especially, if I can't actually sleep, at least I can get something. But the lucid dreaming actually became a problem for a while. Because, like, your dreams are there to tell you stuff. It's, it's like this telephone game, between like the deeper parts of you and the conscious self, and that's why things always manifest in weird ways that don't always make sense. But one of the ways that I started, fixing some stuff from that end is I had this like philosophy of I'll just play along, and if I see something interesting, I'll try to make myself more self-aware and stop playing along, and you kind of inspect things. And then if you come across something that seems significant, like like I said, your faculties aren't all there. You kind of actually need to wake yourself up at that point, otherwise you might lose it, because pretty much any dreams that you don't think about right after waking up are going to be lost to you. Now, occasionally you'll have a scenario where you'll be acting something out, and it's similar to enough to something that you dreamed, and you're like, oh my god, I had a dream about this, but you can't actually be sure that was last night or the night before, or you have this dream every night and now it's just kind of like coming to your awareness. Like I was saying before, I've come a long way and overcome a lot of stuff, and I was not a long-term goal person. I was much more the grasshopper mentality, trying to be an ant. And I'd set some, like, at the time, basically over-the-top, unrealistic goals, because you got to aim for something. And after, like, was it like 10 years, like, all the long-term stuff came together. And I was really having trouble coping with the fact that I'm, like, this is how I am now. Like, and life got better. A lot of the stressors in my life were gone. I had, not a lot of money, but when you have enough money that you don't actually have to worry about paying your bills, or if you want to go out to dinner, or if there's something that you want, you don't have to like consult your bank account and figure when your next check's coming in and how. I don't like to think about any of that stuff. So getting to a place where I live a pretty frugal life, although you wouldn't think it by the recent PC purchase, and that's kind of a reward. Plus, it helps me make videos better. I just derailed myself with guilt over a purchase. But basically, I hit a golden age to where I couldn't believe like so many things that I'd worked so hard for so long were coming together, and it was working out. But there was a problem with my dreams. They were boring. Like seriously boring. Like it was like my subconscious really didn't have anything of significance left to chew on, and I would literally be just like in a room or walking around a building, and anything is happening. I would literally wake myself up because I was so bored in my dream. And I joked about it at the time. It's like, well, if a dream is a story you're telling yourself, then I'm just being bored by my own storytelling, which probably isn't a good place to be. But what I think was actually happening was my subconscious didn't, I'd gotten really, I hate to use the new term phrasing, but I'd gotten to where I just didn't have hardly any internal conflicts. I guess I can get on another flight.
What brings you here?
That looks good.
Farewell.
And your dreams are a good way to like a slip a note past past the guard through your walls of cognitive dissonance, because every time, excuse me, sorry, every time, no, I don't want to say it that way. Check. God damn it. Oh, I didn't have things for my subconscious to chew on, was where I was at, I think. And that was because I just wasn't facing any serious trials or challenges. Life had become so much less stressful, and I just felt like, I earned this break, but you need to keep moving forward. And I needed things to challenge me. I needed difficult things. I mean, you can't spend like 40 years just like fighting a struggle and then be like, yep, I'm good now. I'm just going to chill back. It's like when people retire and they think, I'm just going to hang out and have a beer and sit on the beach, and those people are dead within years because they didn't realize they needed the struggle. The struggle was part of what kept their whole thing going. So I needed a new struggle. I don't think I fully understood this at the time. I just suddenly became much more interested in, I don't know, doing difficult things. One really difficult thing is YouTube, which I'd wanted to do. I just didn't feel like I had anything to bring of significance that other people weren't bringing. But then one day I came across a DVD. And that DVD was actually made from a VHS tape that was made back in the 90s. And what was on it was, well, video feedback art. I had pointed the camera at the TV and recorded it to some music. And I'd forgotten how cool that was. Like when there wasn't any computer generated graphics, and you did the video feedback effect on like a TV, that was one of the coolest things you could show somebody. And, I didn't think about it, life happens. But when I came across the DVD, I'm like, I went searching. It's like, is anybody doing this on YouTube? It's like, well, there's a few, like science channels, or, people will do it, put one up as just this novelty thing, but then get on with whatever they're doing with the rest of their channel. And I thought, what if I just explored this, see all the different kinds of effects I can make, and, how much, I had to get better at cleaning them up because, oh my God, you go back like 3 years to my videos, it is just ugly. But I decided, well, what if I start making this video feedback art, figure out how to put it to music, and post that on YouTube? That sounds pretty freaking hard. And, you know, for a while it was, and I just keep turning up the difficulty knob. Like every time it seems like I've got a good system down, it's time to make it harder. But I needed other harder things. Like I wanted to make videos where I talked, and I don't like talking into the void. It's not so bad once I get rolling like this, but like I've spent 2 weeks trying to do this stream and just couldn't quite get the gumption together. That's how difficult. But I realized that like if I'm gonna stay, I don't know, part of who I am is the change and growth. And growth doesn't happen because, oh, I want to be better, so I'm going to learn about good things and then talk about good things. It's like, no, you do it by doing really freaking hard things. And not hard based on what, you know, how hard it would be to like the general population or other people. It's how hard it is for you. And getting on YouTube and like saying what I think about stuff and talking about myself, that's pretty freaking difficult. Well, I'm getting through this a lot faster when I'm not actually gaming. I guess, like the title, Lucid Dreaming, Cognitive Dissonance, and Stagnation. Apparently, the lucid dreaming I used lucid dreaming to the point and, you know, fixed a bunch of stuff in my life. And a big part of just self-improvement is just stop doing the things you know you're not going to like yourself for later. Like that's it. Like you gotta like yourself. However you conceptualize the different parts of you that exist, you gotta get them assholes working together. And one of the best ways, you know, because you lie to yourself, it's like, well, it's just me. It's like, yeah, no, there's like a population within you, and you're lying to like all those pieces, and you got to be able to trust yourself, you know, on different levels. I don't know. I guess I'd say if you are interested in lucid dreaming, you know, it's not just like a freaking holodeck to play out weird fantasies. You're given just enough awareness that, you know, like in A Nightmare on Elm Street, you know, that one girl had the power to pull things out of her dream and into the real world. And that's basically a metaphor for what I think you should be doing with lucid dreaming. You're in a dream and you see something and you don't really understand it, but you know it's important. You can't really put your finger on why. Well, try to focus all your attention on that and then wake your ass up. Because that thing, whatever it is, will make more sense when you're awake than when you're asleep. And that information is unlikely to make it to your wakeful mind if you don't interrupt your sleep. Like there's an app out there that's funny. I heard about this years ago where like it's basically a wake up alarm on your phone, but for a period of time, like 20 minutes, half hour, or whatever, it will play ambiance from different environments. And then when it wakes you up, you know, what you hear while you're dreaming will often be integrated into your dream. I got a great story on that. So I moved into a place that's, you know, right next to a graveyard, you know, good neighbors, right, nice and quiet. But I remember I was having a dream, and I knew it was a dream, but it was so freakishly intense that it's like it was undeniable. And that like I was in the living room at the place where I lived, and it was like spirits and ghosts and like echoing voices and weird cackling laughter and like demon faces appearing in the walls and stuff, like really messed up. Like at first I'm like, wow, this is cool, I don't get these anymore. And then it was like, okay, that's enough, you know. And it was becoming really intense, just like swirling around me. And there's this voice, like that old man preacher. It's like, you must repent your sins. You must take faith in the Bible, or the devil will get you. And, you know, I'm hearing this, and I was like, fuck this, I'm out. I'd wake up. I'd fallen asleep in the living room, and one of those, like, churchy infomercials had come on, and there was literally a guy up there thumping his Bible on the podium telling you how do you need to come to Jesus. So, yeah, you can you integrate things from your environment into your dream quite often. So what this app does is it puts you in different environments before you wake up. You know, you want to be on a beach, or if you want to be in a bustling city. But at the time, the most popular one, zombie apocalypse. And apparently people would just like, since it's waking you up, it kind of plants it and then wakes you up, people recall it a lot better. So, yeah, dream integration is totally real. You ever wake up and your significant other is talking to you in your sleep? That's probably not a good sign. Like, what are you trying to program my subconscious? What are you doing here? I guess the point, if I was going to pull it together, explore lucid dreaming, understand that, there's things you're hiding from yourself, and you have to, because every time, like cognitive dissonance, it sounds like a bad thing, but it's actually really necessary, because sometimes it's important to believe two things that can't both be true. Doesn't seem like that would be necessary, but you don't always have time to work through things all the way to their conclusion so that you can have so you can resolve it, especially if it's emotional and people won't push through. You kind of almost, it's more like a band-aid. It's like it's there to keep the worlds from colliding until you can kind of integrate them. But every time you basically are exposed to something that you really don't want to think about and you dismiss it, you don't think about it, but there's a little checkbox, kind of like a Windows dialog box, and it's like, don't ask me this again. And that is ironically checked by default. So if you just if something keeps being presented to you and you're just I don't want to deal with that, I don't want to deal with that, and you just kind of shuck it off every time, eventually you will be incapable of even addressing the thing, even if you wanted to, because you've essentially programmed yourself to do it's like the thing I described earlier. They reboot, But well, I usually go a bit longer, but I think I covered everything I wanted to, and I guess there's no reason to make an hour-and-a-half stream out of 15 minutes of content. So I'm going to go ahead and call it. I like doing these streams, and I like that I got myself to do it. And I'm finally... yeah. Also, YouTube's been weird. And oh my god, yes, and I got monetized. So I see a little super chat thing there. I have to have, people actually viewing for that to work. But these streams are mostly, like I was saying earlier, about going to the place where, going to an uncomfortable place and just owning it, or just spending time there till it doesn't own you, might be a more accurate way of putting it. But this is Granny Meeting and the Expert Layman. Lucid dreaming, cognitive dissonance, and stagnation. You all have a good day.